Hello, everyone. Welcome to tonight's meeting of the Hand-Eye Supply Curiosity Club. I'm your host this evening. My name is Tobias Berlinger. Typically, Will is here with me, but he is stuck in traffic in Scappoose. But there are still some seats in the front if anybody wants a seat. Together, we have a number of curious and exciting topics to share with you. As attendees of the Hand-Eye Supply Curiosity Club, you are now all members, provided you adhere to our philosophy. Ex curiositas scientia. We pledge to learn without prejudice in pursuit of our mutual goal, perpetual noviceship. We admit that it is impossible to know everything about anything, and thus we remain perpetually curious and perpetually novice. This is our flag and our mascot, Franklin. The lightning bolt represents the receipt of knowledge, the enlightenment of illumination, the resonance of truths understood. It awakens and excites us and makes us hungry for more. And now, let's give a warm Curiosity Club welcome to Libbey White from OMSI.
So yes, this is OMSI that we all know and love on the southeast waterfront. But it didn't start out there. In 1949, I believe, there was a house donated to establish the museum in northeast Portland, and that's now this parking structure near the Lloyd Center, so it is no more. But it was there until 1958, when it moved to where the Portland Children's Museum is now, and up by the zoo. And the bricks for that building were all laid in one day with over 400 volunteers help. It's pretty amazing. So it stayed up there until 1992 when it moved down to its present location on the waterfront. And that was PGE property at the time. So this is actually the present day turbine hall at OMSI. And you can't see it very well because it's tiny, but some of that equipment is still in there on display, which is pretty cool. This crane back there is still there, and some other stuff. And if you've ever gone on the Esplanade past OMSI, you might recognize this view. They built the Esplanade right out here. So, yeah, it used to be pipes and blackberries. So unlike most museums, OMSI actually makes exhibits. We make exhibits for ourselves and for other museums and for non-museums, for random things. So we have a big wood shop and metal shop and electronic shop and software developer, which is you for the next half an hour or so. So let's begin. Okay, so this is your console. Yeah, let's see what happens if we push this button. It's way too dark and tiny to read, so I'll tell you what it says. We need to order the computer for more than a mouse. What should we go with? Okay, what's more than a mouse? So this is a component in an exhibit called Human Plus, which is an exhibit all about technologies that aid and assist human abilities. So this particular component is like if you couldn't use a regular keyboard and mouse, but you still wanted to use a computer, what would you do? There's a lot of alternatives. You could use a foot mouse, or you could do eye tracking, or if you couldn't even move your eyes, but you could control your breath, there's something called a sip and puff, and you could control a computer that way. But okay, so for this exhibit, the idea is they want to have two visitors play against each other on the same computer. So you need two mouse inputs going into the same computer, which is not a problem that comes up very often. And so after much trial and error, you finally figure out that you can get two mice to talk to the same computer at the same time, and it looks like that, but it's so exciting that you take a screenshot. So, but you can only do it, you can only do it in processing, and for all the ways you tried, the only one that's worked so far is processing and on a Macintosh. Oh yeah, let's always run these because I'm trying to show them. So you get, just for a proof of concept, you make this little game, and that's me controlling two mice at the same time. And so one green, one red, and you draw these lines and the sand falls, and you know, it's not a very fun game, but it's a proof of concept. You can do it. So like I said, you can only do it on a Mac. If you're polling a Mac for what input devices it has, you see all this 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, all these lovely things plugged in that you can use. But if you do the exact same setup and ask a PC, it only says it's got those two things. It doesn't see anything else. So here's your question, your first question. So what do? Do you lobby for a one-player station instead, or do you advise them to order a Macintosh? Mac? Okay, let's try it and see what happens. Okay, it looks like this will have to be cut due to budget constraints, unless you can think of something else. You're not out of it yet. So do you stall a little bit, or do you check your email? Okay, yeah, let's just you're gonna check your email. They do go to the same place. Okay, so you get this message from a coworker. It's this is from an intern. Maybe he's here, but probably not. So this is actually awesome. He says, "Not sure this will be of interest, but have you seen Camera Mouse?" Okay, what's Camera Mouse? So you look it up, download it. Holy cow, this is free software in the world that you can have. And so you can't see it, but there's this little green box on my ear, and I'm controlling the cursor of the computer with my ear, because you can click on anything you want, in the video frame, and it will track the cursor with that. So this is amazing. This is what we ended up using in the final exhibit, and I have a pseudo demo that I can show you. It's pseudo because that software only runs on PCs, and of course I'm on a Mac. So, but this is what you'll see, and you'll try to line your nose up with that with the cross, and then you'll push a button, and it will say hold still. And after the countdown, this won't actually happen, but I would be controlling the computer if I did this, if I move my face. And then you can do stuff, like type a message, and have it spoken out loud, and edit a photo, really cute stuff. So this is the actual final, activity that's going to be in the exhibit. Yay. Okay.
Is it going to work?
What's that?
Is the exhibit going to work?
Is it going to work? Yeah. I hope so. Oh yeah, and I meant to say, feel free to ask questions at any point, because, yeah.
Do two people use their noses at the same time?
No, so actually, and that's a good point, we did end up going with a one-person station. So,
and a PC.
And a PC.
What operating system do you use when you're on PCs?
What is that for 95? 7. Is that what you mean? Which Windows version? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And why did you look at a Mac at FreeGeek?
Well, that's a great question. Thank you, Don. I didn't think of that. I think of them as having PCs, and
I'm sorry, I'm still running PowerPC Macs.
Well, I have me too at home. So let's see what's next. Your next assignment, and this could take all night, so I'm sorry. Okay, we need to work out a serial communication protocol for the turbine controller. Got time today? Serial communication protocol. What? I had no idea. I'd never done this before. You've never done this before. So if you start looking online for examples of serial communication, you start finding things that are not super helpful for a beginner. They're just kind of terrible. Really bad. You're just like, okay, this is going to be awesome. But actually, this actually has useful information in it. So this, you can't read it, but this says transmission of the letter J. And we always hear, jokes about how computers are all ones and zeros, but you never really get to see what that means in practice. Most of us don't. So this is actually the transmission, the binary, representation of the letter J, uppercase J. And this is a voltage graph. So up here is 12 volts, down here is minus 12 volts, up here is a 0, down here is a 1, zeros and ones. So a J is 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, 0. And A is that, a B is that, C, D, E, and so on. So, like these buttons up here, they are gonna send something to your software. and what should they send, because they could send anything. You're making this up with the electronics guy who's not here. So the chip that this little microprocessor that the buttons talk to has a 16-byte buffer. Oh yeah, this is an exhibit about renewable energy, and you're going to be controlling a wind turbine. You can change the pitch of the blades and the yaw. And but this is the 16-byte buffer that microcontroller has. And so you can see, so you only have 5 buttons that you have to worry about. So you can see that like you could have 5 buttons, you could have 1 character stored for each of your buttons, and you still have space left over. Or you could be super intense and bit pack and try to get all your information into 1 byte, and button 1 would be here, button 2, I'm just saying you could do that. So, so this is your next question. Do you want to receive 1 human readable character for each button state, or do you want to try to be uber efficient and bit pack so all the button states fit in 1 byte?
What baud?
I think it's 115,200.
Human readable.
Yes. Yes. I agree. So then you get 5 characters that you really care about, and you look at you look at each one, like, so you look at the character in position 1, and that's your yaw byte. The character in position 2, that's your pitch byte. And so if that first one is a minus for yaw, then you're going to send out a little event that says, hey, turn yaw left. And if it's a plus, then you'll send out an event that says, turn yaw right. And then you're going to have a little listener that says, every time I hear the yaw left event, I'm going to subtract, So that's pretty straightforward.
What are we looking at processing?
What's that?
What are we looking at?
This is Flash.
Flash, okay.
Sadly, but true. But right. So this is the magic, though. That blue highlighted line. That's that is your equation for the power that's generated from your, from this particular wind direction, wind speed, and yaw and pitch. So someone in the R&D department at OMSI came up with this nice equation. Yeah.
Did you hook it up to a live wind anemometer so that?
That would be awesome. So, okay, I'll write that down too. No, it's just we're pretty constrained. Like, this has to endure a lot of abuse on the floor of the museum. So it's simulated everything, but that would be awesome. The end. Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. Urgent. The stop motion software won't run, and we can't find the source code. This is actually the first thing that happened to you at OMSI. So this is like a traveling exhibit. It's on the road for like 10 years at a time, and every once in a while it comes back for repairs. So this big exhibit, animation, has come back temporarily for repairs, and it's a couple days away from shipping out again. And suddenly this stop motion station won't run, just won't function at all. They don't have the software, they don't have the source code, okay? So what do? Do you broaden the search for the source code, or do you panic and start remaking it from scratch? Oh, this is fun. Okay, so you panic. Since you're remaking it from scratch, you go to your favorite environment, which is processing, and you find a library that you like and that you think is going to help you, and you make a little stop motion video. But you pretty quickly run into a lot of limitations, and you realize it's going to be hard to make a really robust thing and have it do all the stuff you need. So either you search again to make sure you didn't miss something, or you contact the creators of this library for help.
Contact the creators.
Do you really? Okay. All right. Well, they refer you to an off-the-shelf product that will work and do stop motion, but your boss is not happy about paying for it. I made that. Okay. All right.
Was that your boss? Or?
Yeah, that was my boss.
How
Okay.
many times have you died?
How many times have I died? I'm sure I'll answer that. Okay, the sit-ski game is a go. What are you thinking about the software end? Okay, what's the sit-ski game? So this is part of the same Human Plus exhibit. about the technologies that aid and assist humans. So this is for people who are paralyzed or who otherwise can't use their legs and they still want to downhill ski, and they do amazing skiing. And so there's going to be this special chair in the exhibit that you can sit in, and when you lean, you'll see a video game in front of you, and you'll steer down this video game mountain, right? So when we prototyped this and tested it with people, we actually used a Wii video game, which is great, except that you have never made a video game in your life. And you're now being compared to a Wii game. Okay. So do you start looking for an example online, or do you say we're going to contract this one out to an outside developer?
Contract.
Yeah, that's exactly what you say, but you can't. Yes. Normally, yes, good call, but we can't afford it on this one. We'll have to do it in-house. That actually happened. So you start looking for an example online, because that's all there else is there to do. Okay, so you find this nice tutorial, create a racing game without a 3D engine. Right? Yeah, that sounds really... Okay, so but you think, sure, why not? And, you know, it looks like a racing game, but you can adapt it and make it look like snow. Sure. So this is your first attempt, you know? And you're like, okay, this is really cool. Yeah. Right, no bugs or anything. We're really good. Okay. All right. So, do you look for a better example online, or do you try to convince the team that this will be cool? Yeah, for sure you do. Okay. So then you find one with a little more 3D stuff going on. Indeed, you do. And it also looks, you know, it doesn't look like snow, but that's easy enough to change. And so there you go. And but still, you're going to need like obstacles. You're going to need a character in there. You're going to need to, you know, make it an actual game. And so you're still feeling a pretty far ways away. So do you search for an example using some kind of physics library, so you don't have to code all that yourself, and it will know about slopes, and you can just go down them? Or do you wander off and look for ice cream? Yeah. Yeah, you get some. So yeah, you feel re-energized enough to search for an example using physics. Okay, so this is really cool. I mean, you find this example that uses a height map, and it interprets the different, you know, the black and white and the gradients between them as actual terrain. I mean, it maps that to a, yeah, it's really cool, right? And again, you know, they have a little car in there and it's green, but you could just put a ski in, right, and make it white, and it, you know, right? Seems possible. But this is your first attempt at substituting a ski in for that car. And that pink object in the background is your ski. So that sucks. Oh, but yeah, I have a demo of that too. See, I did eventually get a little further. Okay. Right, so there, actually, you have a ski. You need a little less friction and a little less mass to do anything, but you can actually scoot around and do stuff. But it's still, like, this isn't going to be a video game anytime soon. So, do you work on another project for a while, or do you go and see if you can vent to a coworker? That's how a lot of options. Yeah. Oh, you get interacted with this email. So this nice coworker says, hey, did you see that example I sent out several months ago? And you check out this example, and it's this incredibly simple, beautiful, easy approach to a skiing game. And this is, in fact, what we're going to do in the final exhibit. And you just, you know, like the chair will, it's pretty easy to translate a mouse position to the tilt of the chair. So you get points for going between the, yeah. So that's that. Yeah, no physics library. All right. Okay, the opening ceremony for all of the bridge components is coming up. How's the bridge cam one coming? So as part of this, the construction of this new bridge, this going to be, light rail and pedestrian and bikes and stuff. Several local businesses and partners have donated a bunch of money for an exhibit about the construction of the bridge and the river and who lives in it and stuff like that. And as part of that, there's going to be a live video stream of the construction that visitors can pan around and zoom and really look closely at the construction, which is cool. But since there's already a web page that does exactly that, you figure it just looks a little different. You figure you'll just copy that, reuse that code, which seems like a good idea until you're staring down almost 6,000 lines of JavaScript. But still, you manage to get the parts you need and put on the OMSI design, but you're stuck at the authorization part. In order to access this camera and control it, you have to give it a username and password. And you've tried all the configurations you can think of, and the ones that should work, and they don't work. So what do? Check the documentation more thoroughly, or contact the person who set up the camera?
Check
Camera person. Camera person.
Whoa, it's a total concept. Okay, they pretty much go to the same place. So, so that you say you contact the person who set up the camera. He's like, here, did you try this? And you're like, yeah. So then you go look at the documentation. You do a lot of online searches. You read, and there's just nothing until finally one day, almost by accident, and someone in a forum, someone's question about something else, you happen to notice that they have encoded the username and password in this way, and you're like, that's all I need. And so you add just those 2 lines of code to your page, and you've got a working exhibit. Okay, time to get that web server going. Have you decided on a solution? What do you need a solution for? Well, so for one of the exhibits, there's going to be a pretty extensive accompanying website where people can log in and do all kinds of interactive things like uploading pictures and adding comments and earning badges. So you're going to need a database. And to avoid another hour-long presentation, I'm just going to say that you think Ruby on Rails is a good solution for this. And so the only problem is that Ruby on Rails is happiest on Linux servers, and the IT department is only running Windows servers. So, so do you go?
Quit.
You don't quit. You don't quit. So do you go with a third-party host, or do you run a server yourself and call a friend for sysadmin help?
Third party host.
Oh man. Okay, I'm running the server myself.
Oh my god!
Yeah. Okay, but sweet, you have a website. Third-party host works. But by the way, did we mention this has to be bilingual? So every scrap of text in there is in the database, and everything else is going to have to be in Spanish too. So how do you do this? Rails has some internationalization support. This little thing says chapters here, and it goes all the way down to 11. And so that's quite a bit of support that you can take advantage of. Plus maybe a gem, which is the Ruby third-party, just helper stuff. So you could kind of use the built-in Rails stuff plus maybe a gem. That's one option. Or the other option is, do you think that sounds like overkill, and you decide to just make 2 separate versions of the site?
Use I18N.
Yeah. Very much so.
Who are you?
So we also need to have a mobile version of the site. This is basically the exact same question. So there's a bunch of different solutions for this, for mobile, people like different things. And there's some built-in Rails stuff that you can take advantage of, template inheritance, and a gem you like. Okay, so same question. Do you use some of the built-in Rails stuff, or do you think that sounds like overkill and decide to make 2 separate versions of the site?
Templates!
Yes. Okay, so there you go. You have a mobile site. That's actually fun. So, yeah. I had put in a bunch of one-liner little pieces of code in here, but for morale boosters. But I realized they would take another hour to talk about. So.
What happened with the stop motion thing?
Oh, what really happened?
Yeah.
We can go backwards.
We can go back?
Let's see, which one was that? Not that one.
Well, yeah, what is stop motion?
Oh, so stop motion. I have a little demo. Oh, and I forgot the turbine controller demo. So stop motion is when you take you take a photograph and you take one frame, you change something a tiny bit, you take another photo, you keep doing that, changing something a tiny bit. I don't know who asked this question, but and then when you play them all in sequence, it looks like a movie.
Like Buzz on cards.
Yeah, so here's my stop motion. This is an actual functional demo. Okay, so let's see. So I just took a bunch of frames and play it back. It's pretty exciting. Yeah, so what I put in here for that actually happening is just that it was the first action script thing you wrote, and it was really hard, but you figured it out. Yeah. Any other questions or?
What are some more than morale boosters?
Oh, well, I took them all out. They were. Yeah, I didn't even. Yeah, exactly. Not on a budget for that. Oh, but here's this other demo that I forgot to show. The turbine control, which also has to be bilingual. So you control the yaw and pitch. I don't have the hardware here, but I can do it with the arrow keys. So you try to face the wind direction, and you can make too much power and it has to shut down. So yeah. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So are you worried about people doing bad things with the online entrance to the museum exhibit?
The online entrance?
So you said that there's like an online way for people to push content that's then rendered in some way in the museum. But
The accompanying the website that's accompanying the
Yeah.
exhibit. If that isn't actually on the floor of the museum anywhere, like there's a sustainability exhibit that's opening soon, and it's all. I mean, there happens to be a website that was funded along with the grant for the floor stuff, but what happens on the website isn't actually shown on the floor.
Gotcha.
But I mean, in general, I guess I'm worried about people doing bad stuff with the online. I mean, we have you can upload photos, so those can be flagged by anyone, and all of the comments and photos are sent to someone in OMSI, just in case, But yeah.
The computers in the exhibits, do you have like a reset button to if they crash during the day or whatever?
All of the exhibits pretty much are on a power grid that just gets turned off at like 5:30 in the winter, and then it just gets turned on in the morning. So they have to power on and work all by themselves. We can't go around and turn them on. So basically, yeah. I mean, there's not a reset button other than the power button, but they all have to be configured so that when they receive power, they boot automatically, whether they shut down nicely or not, and start up their software. Yeah.
How would you
Yeah.
characterize what you do as different from other people's software gigs? Like you have a really big diversity of problems. That sounds really exciting.
It is really exciting. The biggest difference, first off, from my past software jobs is that there's no team. This is just me. So
you are the IE team.
Exactly. The team is an I. So that's really weird and different. But I don't know what else. I hadn't done so much interactive stuff before, so that's different for me. But and they weren't using source control before I was there. So that I'm
They
trying
lost code.
Yeah, they just would start new folders and stuff, and it wasn't ideal. Yeah.
Do you take outside suggestions, or is it all just in-house?
Oh no, we do. We contract stuff out, and we have once in a while we have volunteers who come in and weigh in on technical stuff, which is cool. Yeah. Do you have suggestions? Yeah.
Can you talk about what's the process that goes on from somebody has an idea about an exhibit to, who draws it up? When does it go to the engineers? When does it go to you? When does it go to, what's the whole process from?
I think I hear about it
ideation to on the
last.
floor?
Yeah, I mean, there's a variety of routes. Like some things are corporate sponsored and, or sponsored by some entity, and that can be kind of separate from OMSI's normal sort of assembly line. But usually it's grant funded, and so some team, usually the R&D team, I think, comes up with a grant proposal and outlines like the educational objectives, and you don't have to decide on like what activities are going to be in there at that point. But if it gets funded, then we start having brainstorming meetings, and engineers, like all of the production people are invited to those, plus the R&D and me. And then the R&D team pretty much goes away and decides kind of what they want the activities to be. So that's the most common route. Yeah.
How long does that whole process take?
That I'm working on one right now that's I think about 3 years-ish. But I've worked on ones that are like 3 months. So it really depends. I think 3 months is the fastest I've been on. Yeah.
So what's workload like? Do you usually have a lot of projects in parallel going on at once?
Yeah.
Or is it like one at a time?
Yeah, usually I think I have 4 right now, but that's four, and one of those has 6 software components in it. So like prioritizing is definitely a challenge. I don't think I've ever had a time when I've only had one thing to work on. But there's, the deadlines are totally staggered, so that helps. Yeah.
Do you ever upgrade, like take existing exhibits and go, I should have done it this way? And
there were some that I sort of inherited, that were made by other people that were on the floor and were on Windows 95, and I did take those through the process of getting them to work on Windows 7. But like upgrade ones that I've made, or
yeah, going back and revisiting some.
I mean, I've only been working there for not quite 2 years, so most of the stuff that I'm working on is yet to be on the floor. Some things are, but it's it takes a while. So mostly, I refactor my own stuff constantly, but yeah, most of the stuff that's out there, I've fixed bugs in, and some of it I've upgraded. Yeah. I don't want to see much Windows 95.
Are kids pretty good at debugging?
Oh my god. I try to be harsh, like after I get it to a point where I think it's functional, I try to be mean to it, but they far surpass anything I can do.
That was my worry of early OMSI, was going and breaking snippets.
Yeah, I mean, people just, mash on the buttons. They don't care what they're supposed to do. They're not like, oh, if I push this one, then, no, they're like,
But
so.
We'll try every input combination all at once.
So.
Do you have any negative feedback that you employ when, like, if an exhibit gets its button smashed?
Oh, like for on the screen?
Like a red
knock
light
it off. No, the next one maybe.
The screen.
That's a great idea. The Wilhelm screen. You're hurting the
Push the
computer.
button and get shot.
Right. Yeah.
So are there Easter eggs at OMSI's floor?
No. I don't think so. Not that I know of.
Is that gonna change?
I've put some in the ones that I but yeah. That's mostly for practical reasons actually for me, where I'm like, I do not want to go through this screen again and again and again, so I'm gonna put in a shortcut and no one's gonna know where it is. But yeah.
So most of these are wins, I think. Have you had any projects that were just like failures, where they got canceled because it didn't work out technically?
Yeah, well, one comes to mind. Which, was this the first one? No. Let's see if I can, I probably can't find it. So, the one where we ended up using the camera mouse? So, we were trying to get eye tracking to work, where it's actually measuring your pupil and like you're actually controlling the computer by moving just your eyeballs, which is crazy intense. And there's a great do-it-yourself version posted on Instructables. They post all the electronic stuff and they have the software. And so we tried, like the guys in the shop made the electronics, and I was supposed to build the software, and I tried and tried and tried and tried, and I did get it to run, but it would only run the calibration. I could never get it past calibration. So yeah, that was a total failure.
So do you ever reach out to the creators of those Instructables or other
Yeah,
demos?
yeah.
And say, hey,
Those people I did write to, and it's funny because they told someone at NISI in New York, like, oh, we got an email from someone in Oregon. Like, yeah, you did write back. Great, thanks a lot.
How many museums do this? Like, what's the career path?
I think, yeah, right. I think Minneapolis, their science museum makes exhibits, but I don't know what others. I know the Exploratorium makes awesome exhibits, but I think they pretty much just contract out. I think anyone knows differently, feel free to tell me.
They do a lot there on site. They have a huge shop.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know where I got the impression that they contracted out.
But do they have software resources there? I mean, they've got a huge mechanical shop.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of the mechanical shop, but I don't know software.
But I mean, I could freelance. That's a career path. Yeah. No, I don't know. Yeah. Cool. Oh, one more thing. I wanted to figure out a way to just stand here and read this to you guys all night, but I couldn't work it in. So there's this awesome, maybe some of you have seen this thing called Dizzying But Invisible Depth. This guy wrote just about how complex this stuff is. It's completely amazing. He tries to break it down. Like, you go to Google, here's what's happening. Okay, can't we get it simpler? Okay, we do this. Okay, we do this. And it gets down to, I mean, it's just a really fun read. So, I don't know, I should post that online somewhere so you can read it. But
Yes, definitely. It looks interesting.
it's really, it's
hard to read from that.
it's mind blowing. Yeah.
It's a really good interview question too.
Yeah, it's intense. Okay, that's all I got. Oh, yeah.
Well, thanks everybody for coming tonight. If you have more questions, you can come up and Libby's got some books and stuff here to check out. We're returning on September 4th with Jenny Glass. She's the executive director of the Rosewood Initiative, and she'll be talking about designing on community strengths. Designing with community strengths is a radically different way of approaching neighborhood revitalization through uncovering and supporting existing assets. It is an unpredictable journey led by community members and partners working together to define a new future for themselves. By building from the talents, skills, and ideas already present in the community, we can do meaningful development work that has the potential for lasting social change. This requires us to shift our thinking from a model of scarcity to abundance, to look at a struggling community and ask, what does this place already have, instead of what does this community need? There's a lot more information about that online, and it's going to be really good. One more round of applause for Libbey.